Just him being a comfort advisor, how come you didn't feel like, I guess I put myself in this position. I'm like, man, I know nothing about HVAC. I really now have no staff in a jam here. I just bought a business. How come you didn't feel you needed his help in terms of the comfort advising standpoint, the selling part?
Yeah, because I think that based on a really on the model of HVAC residential service that works the best is its maintenance. Good maintenance rolls into good service, which then rolls into new units. So if you don't have the first two sections done well, then it's very, very difficult to do the last section. You can't really show up at customers' houses on a 2-year-old unit and offer them new units. It doesn't make sense because there's going to be more service and more maintenance than there is sales. And so he tried to help me and would take me and show me, here's how I do a maintenance. And I went, this is not how you do a maintenance. I'm not even in HVAC and I know that. And so that I understood that really quickly. And I said, hey, I will figure out the sales portion later, but I need to service this customer base and keep them happy with service and maintenance. And so I was able to sell a few units. I was able to do a lot of service and pick that up quickly. A lot of primarily 3 to 4 a.m. I'd wake up every day and watch YouTube videos. I'm more than happy to say that. I am a YouTube University grad, and it would be like top 10 things that went wrong in HVAC. But the nice part was that I learned that really quickly through like, hey, here's what you see and this is what it causes. It's a very causal effect. And then I was lucky enough to surround myself with some really good subcontractors who, in cases where there were situations where I couldn't figure it out, I would send the data to them and be like, hey, I really need your help. Can you help me? And then on the background, when I did sell a unit, I would utilize them to do the installation for me. So
So,
very
sorry,
beneficial. Yeah.
Jack, was your strategy then kind of, I don't want to say self-preservation, but you're like, hey, I've got this base of clientele. I'm going to just make sure they're really covered well, and I can do that on my own. I'll worry about building new clients and business kind of once I get my feet grounded. Was that kind of your strategy once this all happened?
Yeah, it was minimize losses.
Okay,
That
got
was
it.
where I went into is like, how do I keep the business afloat? The nice part about having a small loan and a small debt service and no team and no infrastructure, like the one good thing about not buying a good business and buying a really bad business, which now I know. But the good thing was like there's really low overhead. So all I needed to do was pay myself and pay the debt service. Phones were already ringing, that he didn't really have marketing set up. So I was able to jump into this. My trucks were paid off. And so the overhead to keep the business afloat and the break even was very, very low. So my goal was keep customers happy until I can hire somebody who knows what they're doing from a technician side, and then I can take a breath. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
Awesome. If you had a do-over, knowing now that it was a bad business, is this a business you'd still buy and say, "Hey, I learned a lot from it," or would you have taken more time and maybe selected a different business?
Oh, that's such a hard question.
I know.
That's such a hard question.
Let me add
Uh,
a little color to that too.
yeah.
I interviewed John Wilson, and John cut his teeth by basically acquiring, for lack of better words, bad businesses. And
Mhm.
what he told me, I said, "Well, dude, now that you've made it, I'm assuming you're like selecting from the cream of the crop." He said to me, "No, I'm a turnaround expert now, and so really, that's what he acquired out of that. I'm happy if that's what it takes and it makes sense." That's his thinking, which was honestly opposite of what I expected him to say.
Yeah, so I get this question in different ways. Sometimes it's like, would you buy or build? Is a lot of times the phrasing I get on here.
Yeah.
And I will say that even though that it shook down the way it did, the business and the way that everything happened allowed me to understand my business in a way that I would never have understood it if I bought a larger business to start, right? A business that did 2 million in EBITDA and I'm just the owner who, floats around, has never touched a tool in his life. I actually understand my business from a CSR perspective, from a technician perspective, from a comfort advisor position, because I've been all those, and much like John has as well. And then with that, I think that there's a muscle somewhere that you build it, and it's not a physical muscle, but it's a enduring pain muscle,
Uh,
and it's a figuring out problems muscle, and it's a dealing with situations that aren't ideal muscle that business owners need, especially coming from a W-2 world, that you need to build early on. It's just like, hey, stuff is going to happen in your business. There's going to be fires, and the whole experience has put me in a position now where I run a very successful business, multiple businesses, and put me in an industry that I've really enjoyed. And so, to answer your question, I, I can't even say I would have liked it to be easier. It is what it is.